Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brendan again, and you admiring that beard? It's coming in. In before it looks like pubes. Fair enough. But today I want to talk about Mehmet Oz, or Dr. Oz, as you guys probably know him better as, who's a TV doctor with a very popular TV show by the same name that's come under fire recently. And it's about damn time. But anyways, Dr. Oz was called in front of the US Senate today to respond to allegations about his promotion of certain weight loss supplements that haven't been shown to work. Surprise, surprise. And I say that kind of condescendingly only because you guys should know by now Dr. Oz is somewhat of a snake oil salesman, or a pseudoscientist as he's been labeled by very, very many people. So this isn't anything new. It's about time that someone called him out for it and held him responsible for some of his claims. And I want to talk a little bit about that specifically today, but also more in a broad sense with doctors in general. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the good doctor himself, he is in fact a cardiothoracic surgeon, which means he does surgeries regarding organs within the chest, so typically the heart and the lungs. And I'm sure if you have an issue with either of those things, he is a great person to go to. However, that being said, just because somebody is a doctor does not mean they are an expert in all fields. And if you know anything about being a doctor, which I know I do because I watched a lot of Doogie Howser MD growing up, there are a lot of different specialty fields, and you just don't be a doctor and all of a sudden become an expert in everything. So for example, if you're having problems with your head, I probably wouldn't go to a foot doctor, but I'm just saying. The same thing can be true of Dr. Oz. So even though he is a very well respected, kind of hesitated there a little bit, doctor in his field, does not mean he should be respected in all other fields. And again, if you've ever seen his show, you should know this. And finally, the US Senate is really calling him out because he makes a lot of claims in a scientific fashion in the language that he uses, but when you look at the actual research behind it, it's not scientific in nature, and in most cases, it's actually false what he says. So again, I don't particularly like to watch Dr. Oz only because it's a bunch of bullshit in my opinion, but I know many of you have family members or friends who do, or maybe even you watch it, as I get questions from you guys regarding certain things that he promotes. And this is really where I dislike Dr. Oz, because he uses his platform to sell and push certain supplements or whatever it might be, information, let's say, that is factually incorrect. And a lot of people take his word for it just because he's a doctor and just because he's on TV. So the main theme of this video is to not necessarily believe everything you hear, and that should be true because I talk about that all the time on YouTube in general. My channel is included in that. Just because I say something doesn't mean it's factual. I really hope you guys actually take the extra step and do some of the research yourself. I always try to push that on you. I know it's easy to get kind of lazy with some things, but the same thing is true when it comes to the information you get from certain doctors. So Dr. Oz is a prime example, and I think it's about time somebody called him out on some of the stuff that he says. So while I probably would go to him for advice if it was regarding my heart or my lungs, when it comes to diet advice, I probably wouldn't take advice from him. And there's a few doctors I can think of that I wouldn't take advice from when it comes to dietary needs. Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil, Dr. Jack Kevorkian, and maybe Dr. Heathcliff Huxtable. Shout out to anyone who actually got that reference. Sweater Crew checking in. But to be honest, that's what I'm trying to say, and the same can be true actually of your doctor as well, only because I know from certain conversations with people that they said, oh, my doctor said I shouldn't take whey protein because it's bad for me, or I shouldn't take creatine, or I shouldn't lift until a certain age because it stunts growth. Just because somebody is a doctor in one field does not mean that their expertise will transfer over to all fields. So take everything with a little bit of grain of salt. I'm not telling you to go into your doctor your next checkup and when he gives you your physical and tells you to turn your head and cough, that you kind of just drop a people's elbow right on his head, but you should question certain things and just know that just because someone says it, it doesn't always necessarily mean it's true. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. What I'll go ahead and do is kind of link a quick article that summarizes my main points on Dr. Oz and just him getting called out by the US Senate in general. However, if you have a different news site that you like, I'm sure you can find a story on there as well. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.